I have something actually pretty deep and serious that I want to talk about with all of you. A lot of the people who follow me on my Instagram, which if you're not, by the way, it's at EdenGold_. I also just started a new segment called Weekly Chats with Eden, where I just have these bursts of inspiration and I share stories with you guys and empowering messages and tips and strategies just to help you guys throughout your life. And if you have been on this channel before, you know that this community is all about building confidence through action, mindset, food, awareness, lifestyle. And that's all I really want to do is spread a positive message of building confidence and how exactly I've gotten to the level that I'm at in such a short period of time. Because for those of you who don't know, and what I'm going to be talking about today a little bit is that I was bulimic for 6 years. I developed bulimia when I was 15 years old, and I've been 1 year and 7 months recovered now. I was going to say into my recovery, but I have learned so much throughout the entire journey, and now I've gone on to build a whole business around empowering young women and men to build confidence and not feel insecure and feel comfortable with who they are and proud to be who they are in whatever way that means for them. So I'm on a huge mission to inspire as many young women and men as possible. And so I'm really working hard on making that big impact, but a part of that comes with me opening up about the more vulnerable sides of me. And so I thought this was a really good opportunity to just sit with my camera and share a story with you guys. And I hope that you like it, and I hope that you can get something valuable out of. And by the way, guys, I am also terrible at talking, so just keep that in mind. But one disclaimer that I will say is that these are all true stories about my past, and I am going to open up as much as I can and try and be as honest as I can. But this is not intended for anybody who might potentially find this to be triggering information or use this as some sort of like strategy or method, because I guarantee you that throughout the entirety of me suffering, nothing worked. It's not meant to work. It's not, even though you are normal and you're totally possible, you're totally capable of recovering if you're struggling with your relationship with food or you're struggling with an eating disorder. There's a lot of work that has to be done in the right direction. And so this is not intended to feed into any negative mindset, but just simply share my story. So I just want to do a little potential trigger warning, I guess. Oh gosh, I've never sat down and told a story before. If I seem kind of awkward, that's probably why. But I want to get back into it. And I'll start with a little bit about my past. So when I was 15 years old, I developed bulimia, and I'm not going to get into my whole life story unless I see that there is a desire for it. Throughout all of my high school years and even some college, I went through all of it, the binging, the purging, the most brutal self-talk, the self-harm, the attempts at not eating for days, though I was never very good at it because I loved food. All of it. I faced demons in my head every single day, and nobody knew. It was almost as if somebody followed me around, continuously whispering in my ear, "You won't have friends if you're fat." And you are. Don't eat that food. If you do, you are a failure, you are disgusting, and you deserve to starve yourself. Everybody is staring at you. Everybody is staring at your flaws. And these are the voices that I would hear in my head, and they were so detrimental, but I didn't know that the thoughts that I was thinking and the things that I were feeling were dangerous and deadly. I just knew that they were happening. But Leia, stop licking my foot. But there was also that part of me that was too embarrassed to tell anybody. So naturally, I just hid all of my struggles away. And looking back into my past and the people that I've worked with up until this point and building my business, that is the last thing. That is not even on the list of things that I would recommend you do. I really believe that I did things backwards, but I believe that I have such a powerful message for the people who I can reach with it, because I was so ashamed the entire time that I did not reach for help, but somehow by the grace of God or the grace of the divine or whatever you call it, I recovered, and now I'm going on to help as many people as I can. So anyways, going off on tangents, I struggled for many, many years. When I look back on all of my years growing up and as a child, although there was so many amazing memories, it's hard to pinpoint those amazing memories when my immediate brain hones in on just how much I hated my body, all of the bad memories, how insecure I was, how much I thought everybody was staring at me and staring at my flaws, playing the comparison game with everything that walked around me. It was terrible. And I remember the tipping point that I had when I knew that mindset actually played a role in my recovery. So I didn't know mindset was a factor in any of this. I didn't know how to work on my mindset. I just thought that I had to stop the bulimic tendencies. So that was my first priority and the only one that I thought to be true. So somewhere in February of 2018, I stopped purging. And I don't know how, I don't know what date, I don't keep track, but somewhere in February, I'm pretty sure. At that point, what I came to realize is that I was still incredibly unhappy, and I didn't understand why. I didn't understand why my problems weren't solved, and it was somewhere around April. Actually, okay, I have the specific date. It was April 25th. It was at that point that I realized I couldn't live with the same mindset that I had. I had to educate myself and I had to gain knowledge, because even though I wasn't purging, I was still binging. So even though I had achieved an incredible milestone, I wasn't able to feel good about it because I didn't know anything about developing a strong and resilient mindset and learning to love myself. So naturally, even though I wasn't throwing up, I was still binging and having these massive episodes of binging, and then I would just sit with the pain. I would sit with it. I would feel guilty. I would have a battle in my head trying to talk myself out of throwing up, and it worked. I don't really remember if there were many relapses that I had. If I did, there was maybe one or two, but it just got to that point where I was able to stay strong in that area of my life, to which I'm very proud of myself for today. And I remember the last massive binge that I had, which is when I had the tipping point, was the day after my best friend's 22nd birthday, her 22nd birthday. And words can't even describe how much I ate. I was so full, and I was laying in my bed, and I was just thinking about going to the store that was right down the street. It was an Oliver's Market, and getting some of the, you know how the places have like the hot food bar, getting some of the potato fries. And I was gonna go and get some and eat them. I was not full. I felt disgusting. I felt ugly. I felt terrible. I didn't know what to do, but somehow my brain overpowered all of that. I was exhausted. I was so hungover, but the energy and the resilience that my brain felt and was telling me to, it was almost as if, and if you guys have struggled, any of you have struggled with an eating disorder, you might be able to relate to this. It was almost as if somebody took over my body, and I drove to the store and I got potatoes and I got cookies and I brought them back home and I just smashed them down, and everything kind of felt like it was stuck in my throat. Anyways, I don't want to get too far into that story, but that was kind of the tipping point where I knew that mindset had to play a huge factor in it. So I went on a journey to learn and discover, and that's when I discovered many health practitioners on YouTube, and doing research with blogs and stuff, and trying to figure out how I can have a healthier diet. And that's when I was introduced to, this was around May or April. Yeah, and at this time, that's when I was introduced to carb cycling, and not the ketogenic diet, but a high fat, low carb diet, and high carb, low fat diets, all of these different kinds of diets. But in my mind, I was thinking of them as more of lifestyles. And yes, for certain people, they are lifestyles, but coming from somebody who had a very unhealthy brain in terms of diet culture, dieting, that's not the way to approach it. But I didn't know that. So I was looking into all these different methods of how to help my health, and there's a couple things that I decided. I tried so many things at this point, by the way. I did the carb cycling. I did the, I guess, ketogenic diet. I did intermittent fasting, and intermittent fasting was one that I knew that I could stick with. But I will say, because of the mindset that I was in, it wasn't healthy at all. I would go to school, to college every single day, wouldn't eat. When I think it was 10 o'clock came around, I would already be like 2 classes into my day, and the only thing that my thoughts were on was when I was gonna have breakfast in my car, because I was just thinking about food, but I was restricting myself from having food. so that I could eat within that specific time window. I'm not going to get too far into the carb cycling or anything like that, but that still played a huge role in it. I would literally count out like 10 hazelnuts and put salt on them and eat those, and I would savor the heck out of them. But 10 hazelnuts? Are you kidding me right now? So I would have my first meal when I was already like 2 periods in, or 2 classes in my college, and I would drink a protein shake, and that's all I would eat. I would go to my 3rd class, go home, I would eat a salad, or I would have freaking like a very small amount of nuts of some sort, and I would eat that, and maybe I would have a little thing after. Meanwhile, I was tracking all of my calories. I did not care about the carbs or the sugar or the salt. The only things that I cared about, I believe, were the fat and more specifically the calories. So this went on for maybe about a month, and I lost weight very fast. And I look back on some pictures that I took during that point of my life, and it sucks because I didn't feel skinny. I was very skinny fat. I had no muscle. I looked at myself and I was horrified by what I saw, even though I was very small, and people would comment on it all the time telling me how much weight I've lost, which that's a whole nother story that I don't think is appropriate, but I'll talk about that later. I didn't feel skinny. I still looked at myself with the same disgusting lens because I didn't work on that self-love. I was trying, but I was trying through food and not mindset, and developing that mindset. So I was eating around 800 to 1,000 calories a day for about a month. I was losing a ton of weight. I was unhappy with myself, and the cycle kind of continued. And me, my boyfriend, and some friends went to Lightning in a Bottle in 2018, which is it's a music festival where they have yogas, meditations, cooking classes, art classes. It's called a transformational festival because it embodies so much of culture and transformation of some kind or another. And I really just wanted to look good for that. I knew there was going to be a lot of half-naked girls there, and I knew we were going to be wearing bikinis and whatnot, and I just wanted to look good for it. So that also gave me more momentum to eat as little as I was. And this, guys, every single time that I ate over like 1,000 calories, I would have a fit. I would be so devastated. I would feel like such a freaking failure. And I know that this talk is kind of all over the place, but it's just what's coming up for me now and in the order. And I wanted to speak so organically and not have anything planned. And I just remember being so miserable during that time of my life, and it's just so awful. Let me just make sure I'm still recording. So we went to Lightning in a Bottle. The whole time I was comparing myself to every other girl who I felt was beautiful. I told myself before we went, about a week leading up to us going, I told myself that I was going to go on an all fruit diet and be a fruitarian for a week, because I hear you could just like cleanse yourself and lose a lot of weight, blah, 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 like all of this stuff, which was completely unnecessary. And I didn't end up doing it just because I couldn't, I just didn't want to. I loved food too much. I was too obsessed with food. It was the only thing that invaded my mind all the time. One of the worst parts about me and all of this diet mentality was that I thought that I was gaining so much knowledge and learning so much. So I would project my knowledge onto my friends, and I would say, this is the answer. This is what you should do. Because I had friends that I knew were struggling with body image and stuff like that too. And so every time I would come up with a new diet that I didn't even know worked, because again, I'm looking through myself from a shattered lens. So I didn't feel skinny. I didn't feel like it was working. But there was a part of me that was like, this is the answer. Like, we just have to eat little calories. We just have to only eat fruit, blah, blah, blah. And that's so freaking toxic. Oh my gosh. And it didn't have to be that way. So one thing I did learn at this time is that it was important to give yourself full permission to eat instead of keeping foods off limits. And I didn't learn too much about that because I was still obviously restricting very heavily, but I do know that when I went into Lightning in a Bottle with all of my friends, I told myself, I know I'm going to be surrounded by good food. I know I'm not going to be able to say no. So I'm going to give myself full permission to eat. And then when I get back, I'll just get right back on track. Well, long behold, I shoved everything in my face every single day. And I just felt bloated and gross and disgusting. My stomach was hard. A month, maybe more, of under eating and starving myself to completely binging out nearly every single day, thinking about food when I should have been enjoying the culture and enjoying the opportunity with my friends. And I bought my ticket, boyfriend's ticket, friends. I paid $1,200 in tickets. And I was just thinking about food the whole time. So when we got back, I was like, I'm just going to get right back on track. I'm going to get right back on my intuitive eating, or not intuitive eating, definitely not intuitive eating. I'm going to get right back intermittent fasting. And that was the biggest thing that I think I was structuring myself on was the intermittent fasting. I had to eat in a small window of time, in a smaller window, in a smaller window of time. And I heard about all these people eating 2 meals a day and 1 meal a day. And for that whole month, my structure was kind of eating at 10 or 11 and then stopping at like 4 or 5. And I was so into the structure that I got very used to it, and it got a little bit easier. And I just kind of adapted to it. But when I came back from that trip, I just couldn't get myself to eat that few calories. I couldn't get myself to not eat before a certain time or stop before 4 or 5. And I was so upset with myself. Because I thought that it would be an easy transition. And I felt so lost and distraught, and I didn't know what to do. I was worried about binging again. I didn't know that I was doing all these crazy, insane diets. I thought that they were going to work. I thought everything was a solution. And I guess that's when I had another epiphany of, I really need to get my shit together. I really need to get it together. I can't go back to the same things that I was doing. And even though it's going to be long and it's going to take time, I'm willing to put in the effort and the energy. It was a blessing that the Institute for Integrative Nutrition came into my life at this point, because I was ready to dive into the world of true health and true nutrition and see what it felt like and really understand food at its core. And that's the school that I graduated from already, and now I'm a licensed health coach. But I was excited for that to start, and then I went on a mission of like self-love and healing. And I can get into my whole transformative self-love and self-healing journey if that's something that you're interested in. But I guess some of the points that I wanted to share with you making this video are, there's a right way to do intermittent fasting and there's a wrong way. You have to keep your nutrition in mind. You have to keep a healthy mindset going into it. I know that, I want to say it was about 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, I was like, now that I'm in a healthier mind frame, I'm going to try an intermittent fast again. And then the very day I was going to start, and I was like kind of hungry, and I had that thought of, I can't eat yet. I was like, nope, I can't intermittent fast right now. It's not healthy yet, because I don't want to feel like I'm putting myself in a restrictive mindset. And even if there is a healthy way to do it, I know for myself I wasn't ready for that yet. And I know what I know now is that there's another way to health. There's another way to reach your goals. That's not necessarily what other people might be doing. You don't have to do that to be healthy. You don't have to eat high fat, low carb to be healthy. You don't have to eat high fat, low carb, high carb, low fat to be healthy. There's alternative ways that will fit your lifestyle and where you're at better. And that's one of the messages that I wanted to get across, because the way I was doing things was not coming from a place of self-love. It was coming from a place of wanting to change my body to look a certain way. It was all about the aesthetics. I didn't know about mindset and self-love, but come to find out that that's the most important and crucial part. So if you're out there and you are struggling with body image or your relationship with food or maybe an eating disorder or anything of the sorts, just know that it starts with your mindset and your perception of yourself and your world. Actions are going to follow when you make small changes in your day-to-day life, but you have to develop that mental resilience and that emotional intelligence and educate yourself, but understand that there's alternative opinions out there. And it has been such a healing 2 years for me. And I think the best part of it, and the part that I try and share with people, is that, guys, I suffered in silence for 6 years and I changed my life in 8 months. I am such a happy person right now, and I'm so thankful to be able to help people who are struggling with body image and confidence and self-love and not feeling good enough. And had I not just dove so deep into mental health and physical health, spiritual health, I wouldn't know that. And I want to end this on a positive message by saying that, but I also want to say that if you are planning on going on a diet, it has to come from a place of self-love, not because you want to change your body because you hate the way it is now. And if you think that going on yet another diet or a restriction of some sort is going to save you, it's not. It's not going to be healthy for your mindset if you're not in a right mindset to do it. And you have to be very self-aware to figure that out. So I have something that I believe will help anybody in need, and that is the ebook. I just printed physical copies, but you can still get it for free on my website for a limited time until it becomes a Kindle book. And it's called 21 Days to Quiet Your Inner Bully. It starts with mindset, ends with goal setting. In the middle, we have actions and practicing mindsets. And all of the steps in there are steps that I've used to overcome my eating disorder in full. And I hope you check it out. I'll leave the link in the description. Again, 21 Days to Quiet Your Inner Bully. I talk a lot about this topic on my Instagram page as well, at @EatingGold_. And just know that you're not alone. Just know that you're not alone, and whatever thoughts that you're thinking or feelings that you're feeling, you're normal. But there is something to be said about the fact that you need to take it into your own hands to heal your relationship with your body and your relationship with food. And I know that all of you can do it if you make the decision to and stay freaking resilient. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to join the family and build ultimate and unlimited self-confidence with the rest of us, then I would love for you to join me here. Hit that subscribe button and that bell so anytime we have another empowering video come out, you can be the first to see about it. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys later.